It's me, Roger Humbke. Special greetings to my old and new acquaintances, family, friends, and my new YouTube friends out there. I hope you all had a great weekend. I did. I spent a good relaxing time with my family and also focused more on my latest 4D puzzle that I'm working on. Cool hobby, my friends say, and it keeps my mind sharp. I chose my childhood stories about running away from home as my first video because I wanted to encourage you to always take that extra step and be brave. It may change your life forever. This story starts when I was 4 years old in 1947. My grandfather lived in his own house on the farm where my parents had also built their home. Mom and Dad usually went to town in Wetaskiwin for groceries, and this time they took Grandpa with them. My sister, Rosemary, about 5 years older than me, and her first cousin would look after me. It was pretty easy for me to hide from them. I had the idea in my mind about going into my grandfather's house to see his radio. It was rare to have a radio back then. For me, it made sounds and music came out. I was very curious as a young boy, and I wanted to find out what was inside and how it worked. Entering his house and getting behind the radio with its 2 large batteries was easy for a little boy. I managed to pull out all 6 tubes and disconnect the batteries. The moving indicator fascinated me, but I couldn't take apart the dial. I would have liked to, because if you turned the dial, you could see the indicator move across the stations, and that was interesting to me. I continued playing with the radio and all its parts. An hour later, while trying to put it back together, there was no lights or sound. When it was working, the tubes lit up, and it just fascinated me as a little boy when sound came out of the speakers. I just could not get it to work, and I got very worried, thinking about the spanking coming my way. In my mind, it was time to find a place to hide where no one could find me, which was in the back of the log barn where we kept the new calves. The manger was full, and I crawled underneath the straw, and then the exhausted, bad little boy fell asleep. How much time passed, I don't know, but my parents came home to find me missing. The whole family was looking for me and screaming my name. They were all yelling, "Roger! Roger! Where are you?" Eventually, I awoke, but was scared of that spanking. In the end, I came out. Grandpa was very upset, and I did get a beating from my angry father. I wanted to know so much about the world, to explore and go beyond, looking at the stars, wondering how to get there. Were people living there? How to get to the moon? And then I just looked at the horizon, and I wanted to go there. That was the little boy inside me. I knew there was a bigger world than just our farm because there were other farms around forming our community called Verdun. Certainly I was small, but realized the world was much bigger. My passion was to be a scientist, an adventurer, and explorer. My curiosity wanted to know how everything was made and worked. A million questions that my parents couldn't answer. Questions like, where did I come from? How was I made? When was I made? And all they would tell me was, a stork brought you. I had no clue or information at that point. It was my first instance of running away, and I still have the urge inside to know how new discoveries work. I did not become a scientist in life, unless you call a teacher or a professor a social scientist. The second instance of running away happened about a year later when I was 5. This time, I got about a mile away. I thought running away was very easy by just taking a couple of cookies, some matches, and leaving. I went out about a half a mile into the field where there was a large area of bush with high trees, animals, and lots of birds. Further back in the field, there was another bush I wanted to explore. Here I spent time watching birds, climbing trees, and stealing eggs out of their nests, thinking I was being a good little boy by only taking the eggs of crows and magpies. I never took robin's eggs. That was a nice bird in my mind. There were so many newer birds and exploring to be done. I didn't realize a lot of time had passed. My parents had been looking for me but couldn't find me, and had asked the teacher of the local one-room country school to have her 25 students search for me in the afternoon. I didn't know anyone was looking for me. You know, when you do something you really love, hours will go by and it seems like not long at all. It was so exciting being an explorer, having a great adventure. When I was found, I wasn't punished in front of the students, but surely got the spanking later. At the time, everyone was just happy they had found me alive, not dead in a slough. Those were just the first 2 experiences of exploring and discovering this amazing world. I hope everyone has a chance to do this, but something not too risky. If you have a great interest in things, do some exploring. Take a chance in life. There were times when I didn't know much, but other people had figured it out. It made me even more curious. But at that age, you don't have all those concepts or knowledge. When I was brought up, we had very few books. The main book I remember was an encyclopedia given away by Safeway. If you bought maybe $10 worth of groceries, they gave you 1 volume of a 25-book encyclopedia set. My mother would get it from the Camrose Safeway store, and the moment it arrived at our home, I would be reading it. It really interested me. So I hope you encourage everyone, especially yourself, to ask questions, try to find the answers, and keep your curiosity. As I mentioned earlier, the biggest question in our house for me was, where did I come from? There was no really real answer to that. It was just like the stork brought you or dropped you down the chimney. Then I asked, how did I get through the chimney? Then the answer changed to, you got dropped off in the porch. It sort of seemed like if you didn't follow what was normal back then, you weren't a good boy. Mainly, I wasn't a good boy in those terms because of my curiosity. I am still curious about so many things. Very curious. I thought everything was discovered, but it was not. I was so sad that I was born after the airplane was invented. Everything seemed to be already discovered. I was a little depressed with that thought. But now, in my 70s, discovering that there is an equally vast and interesting inner world, just as vast and interesting as the outer world was to me as a child. It has taken many years for me, but this all starts when you are young. And if you think you are still young, now is not too late. So to wrap up today's video, I really wanted to say again, please be brave and go that extra mile. Make a change in your life because it will reward you for sure. Thank you very much for watching my video. I still have much to share with you about my life, my hobbies, and also my thoughts about the world I grew up in and the world now. With such harsh times for everyone now, I hope my video stories will bring hope and joy to everyone who watches them. Thank you again, and as promised, I will see you next Tuesday with a new video. Bye-bye.